Hey friends, Stevie here. Welcome to Splits Camp number 3, aka Block Tower Power. First off, if you're coming here and you're like, oh, I haven't done parts 1 and 2, it's okay. These classes do all stand alone. Do they kind of build on each other? Yes, as far as complexity goes. However, you can figure out it's not a big deal. Also, while these are targeted to provide a variety of transitions and movements that are useful for front splits, 1 foot back, 1 foot forward, they are still useful. Even if you have no desire to do front splits, even if you're working ready to do front splits, doesn't matter. The idea of hamstring mobility while we're in hip flexion and hip extension are useful on and off the mat and never force you to do splits. I will also say that full front splits with the hips perfectly square, as is traditionally taught in a lot of lineages, is way past functional range for a lot of people and maybe not even necessarily accessible. So with that in mind, I'll be providing a variety of resources. We'll be using props and playing with the idea of the components of splits without actually having to do splits. This is very useful if you want to work on splits. It's also useful if you want to do folds or handstands or back bends, which have a lot of hip extension. Because this is called Block Tower Power, you will need a lot of blocks. I have 5 blocks here. You don't need 5 blocks. However, at least 3 would be helpful for our block tower, and then 2 more for our hands, maybe. Now, if you're like, I don't have that many blocks, Stevie, that's okay. You can use books. You can even just find like a bunch of books to make your tower or a little stool to find your tower. Maybe have 1 block and then have some chairs nearby. Like, just get all your props. And then I like to have a blanket and I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me, we're going to keep that in there because allergy season, we're all suffering. And the blanket is to soften the block tower sometimes for like our hip or our knee or something like that. Whereas, Also, you might note I have a lot of wood blocks, Filio blocks. I love them for some things. They are not ideal for making towers, but that's what I have here because they slide on each other. Honestly, the best would be like cork blocks because they're sturdy and they don't slide on each other. So whatever. I know not everybody has 5 to 6 cork blocks, right? So gather some chalky things that you feel okay, like sitting on, stepping on, or holding on to, and have at least 1 blanket to soften them, yeah? Cool. And then today, we're actually going to get started standing with a more dynamic warm-up. So we've done kind of some longer holds, and today we'll do a little bit of leg swinging. Now, I say leg swinging, we'll be doing some single leg balancing while we swing our legs in different directions. If that means you want to stand in a place where there's a wall to hold on to, totally fine, or a chair, go for it. I'm not going to do that just because I don't have the space here, but if you want that for stability so you can focus on the swing, that's great. So come to a standing position. Place a soft bend in both knees, lengthen your tail, lift up to your pubic bone, and transfer the weight into the right foot. Peel the left heel off the ground, and then with your holding onto something with 1 or both hands, go for it. Start to swing your left knee up, and then release it down. Swing it up, release it down. Doesn't matter what your ankle's doing, and let the knee be bent. Try to keep everything else still as you swing the left leg up and down. 2 more like this, up and down, up and down. Great. Let's straighten that left leg to whatever degree is comfy for you. I just want to make sure I don't kick the wall. Swing it up and down, up, down, up, down. Swing it up. Using momentum here. Swing it up, swing it up. 2 more. Swing it up, swing it up. Great. Okay. Still focusing on the left leg. Bend into the right. Think about a curl of the heel in. Swing your leg back and bring it to starting position. And as you swing it back, try to avoid this pelvis going bleep, right? So kind of think about everything we've been doing in the other 2 weeks. Lengthen the tail, squeeze the glute, swing your knee back and bring it forward. It probably won't go very far back and you might get a hamstring cramp. Swing it back and let it come back forward. Swing it back, swing it back, swing it back, swing it back. I'm holding my pelvis, so I'm like, don't move pelvis, but it's still moving. It's okay. It happens. Swing it back, swing it back. Okay, let's do it with a straight-ish leg, right? It's going to be a little bit harder. Kind of float your foot off the ground. Yes, you can stand on a block with the other foot if you're like, I really want to make this a big swing. And then swing your left leg back. It won't go very far. We don't have a lot of hip extension. Keep the glute engaged. Pull up through the pubic bone. Swing it back, swing it back, swing it back, swing it back. 1 more time. Swing it back. All right, shake it out for just a second. Your right leg might be like, I am tired. Chill right leg. You're going to have your turn. But first, we got to swing forward and back, forward and back. Let's start with a bent leg. So weight into the right leg. Swing your left knee forward and back, forward and back. Can you keep the pelvis still? Forward, back. As you bring it back, can you really squeeze through the booty? Forward and back, forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. One more time, forward and back. Straighten the leg, forward and back, 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 forward and back. Keep going, forward and back a little faster, forward and back, forward and back, forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. Oh, release. Okay, and if you're like, oh, but I'd like to do the side-to-side ones too. Hey, we're gonna do that next time in the slidey class, okay? So it's gonna be all right. Right now, we have to do the right leg. So stand on the left leg, peel the right heel off the ground, small bend into the left knee, keep the pelvis still, pull the right knee up and bring it down. Pull it up and bring it down. Pull it up, bring it down. Up and down, up and down. Use momentum, up and down, up and down. Two more, up and down, up and down. Straight leg, swing it up and down. Doesn't have to be totally straight. Do whatever you want with your ankle. Just the front half right now, just going forward. Two more. Great. Now we're going to go backwards. Bend into the left leg. Hover that right heel off the floor. Keep the pelvis still, and then kick back. Kick back. Little kick back of the right leg. Try to keep the pelvis still. You can hold on to it with one hand if you're using the other hand for stability. Two more like that. One and two. Let's do straight leg. Kick back. Remember, these are small movements compared to front. Kick back. Kick back. Kick back. Whoa. Kick back. All right, should we do the full swing, forward and back? Let's do bent leg first. Right knee, forward and back. 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 One more. Forward and back. Straighten. Forward and back. Please don't kick the wall. Forward and back. Forward and back. Forward and back. Forward, back. Bend the bottom leg. Forward and back. Forward and back. Pick up the pace. Forward and back. 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 One more. Forward and back. Ah. Are your legs warm? Mine are. Come onto the floor. Grab a block. So we did these kind of sacrum hip extensions in class number 1 with the block on the low setting. Today we're going to do them on the medium setting, but if you're like, absolutely not, do it on the low setting. What do I mean? Come into your back body. Plant the soles of your feet. Lift up your hips. First, lengthen your tail. Squeeze your booty. Pull your pubic bone up. Now, take the block and either put it on the low setting or medium setting underneath your sacrum. Not your low back, your sacrum. It's the bone at the back of your pelvis. Keep that length through the tail as you set the block down. Your booty on the block. Words are hard sometimes. Okay. Now, pick up one leg, pick up the other. If you're like, absolutely not, go back to the low setting. It's chill. Don't go to the high setting, please. It's just too much. We don't need to do that. Am I going to kick the wall? No. Good. Sweet. Okay. Just be here. Balance for a moment. Arms on the floor, on your chest, whatever. Maybe touching your legs. And here with your hips just kind of floating. Take some circles with the knees, like a little butterfly. So we will be doing a little hip extension here because obviously the back leg in splits has a lot of hip extension. But for class 1 and 2, we focus a lot on hip extension. So I feel like this class focuses a little bit more on the hamstring tension. But we will do some hip extension because obviously go the other direction with your big circles. You can hold on to your knees too if that feels more stable. Akataki artichokes. Pull your knees into your chest. Your hips are still on the block. Keep your right knee. Keep it. Use your hand, your right hand, to kind of take it there. Or if you'd like a strap or even just another block to push onto it or your blanket to pull around it, that's great. Kind of pulling it in towards your chest or maybe slightly out to the side. We talked about that in class 1 and 2, how for most people, this idea of opening the leg slightly more to the side can give people more space, even just from a bony perspective. Take the left leg up to the sky, towards straight. Soft ankle, soft ankle, soft ankle. Keep the knee kind of facing up and the foot facing up as you start to drop that left foot down to or towards the floor. Oh, there is the wall there. Oh, well. As you drop it, it doesn't have to come to the floor, but if it does, great. If it doesn't, great. Think about that right knee and the left knee pulling in opposite directions. So we're thinking about the stretch to the front of the left hip here. Find it by squeezing the left glute, and maybe you have your left hand free. You can touch your booty and be like, hey, booty, do your work. And pull the pubic bone towards your sternum. Pull your left knee and your right knee in opposite directions. The more you pull your right knee towards your chest, you might be able to find that. But sometimes I like to think about almost my left hand kind of sliding along the top of my left thigh, like, go this way. But the pubic bone pulls up. The pubic bone pulls up towards the sternum, right? Pubic bone in the front of your pelvis towards your sternum, on the top of your ribs, kind of pulling and knitting in towards each other to find that hip extension. Even if the left foot is floating, think about the top of the left leg kind of facing upwards, pulling your legs in opposite direction. Squeeze the left booty. I forgot about mine. Left booty, left booty. All right. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. By the way, this is really nice actually with my foot pushing into the wall because I can also kind of think about dragging it up, which is kind of really nice. Did that by accident. Totally. Let's switch it out. Pull the left knee back in. Grab it. Send the right leg towards straight first. Soft ankle. And then slowly drip it down. Maybe it touches the floor, maybe not. Don't worry about that. Think about the right booty squeezing and the pubic bone pulling towards the sternum as you hug your left knee in. Split your knees in opposite directions. And I really do like my foot touching the wall because then it can really push into the wall and I could feel a little bit more across the front of my right hip. Squeeze the right booty. Tug the knees in opposite direction and don't feel afraid about kind of modifying through that left leg and pulling it more out to the side versus directly forward. I feel a definite stop as my ASIS, my hip bone, hits the skin and the top of my left leg. But if I take it out to the side, then I can get a little bit more of that hip flexion. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release both your feet to the floor. One hip extension bridge here, so push your feet firmly in. Lift your hips, squeeze your booty. Pull your pubic bone towards your sternum and drive your knees away from self. It's not about the back bend. It's about the butt. Hooray for butts. Move your block and lower your back onto the floor. Okay, move your blocks out of the way. Ideal if you don't have a giant mirror next to you, but hey, gotta work with the filming space we have and where we can hide from our small human while we teach. All right, plant the soles of your feet and just knock your knees from side to side, massaging across the back of your pelvis. The next time your knees come over to the left, pause. Think about your right leg. It's your top leg. Kick it towards the left. Straightish. Kick and reach. Rebend. Take it to the other side. Kick the left leg towards the right. Don't kick your mirror. And switch. Kick the top leg. And switch. Kick. Switch. Kick. You're trying to get the covers off. Kick. Switch. Kick. Switch. Kick. The next time you kick over towards the left, pause. It'll be the right leg that's somewhat straight. You can let the right leg come to the floor. That's an option. I like to think about keeping my shoulders on the floor. You do you here. You can also use your left hand to grab onto your right leg and kind of pull it up more. Yes, it can be bent, or you can work it towards straight. Sometimes this little bend and extend here gives me a lot of hamstring feelings in a weird position, right? But we are in a lot of hip flexion and a twist, right? And a big thoracic twist. This is a great place to be, or you could just hang out. If you want to add in some more because you just like complex movements, you can think about hip extension through your bottom leg, your left leg. So kind of walking the knee back. You could even reach and grab your left foot with your right hand and think about squeezing the left glute. But this is a lot, right? Even with straps and all the things. Like, you do not have to do all this. This is just if you want to. Any kind of bound twist is a great place to be. Release. Take it to the other side. Kicking the left leg over towards the right. Again, you could grab it with your hand if you want to do some little bend and extends. Ooh, that gives me big feels in my hamstring with the bend and extends, especially because I'm flexing my foot to try to avoid destroying this mirror. You can simply hold that. If you want to add in the double bind, you can. This can give people a little quad stretch. It only gives me a quad stretch if I really think about squeezing through my right glute and almost sending my knee, my right knee, the bent knee, towards the back of my mat. And then I start to get a little quad stretch. It's not like the biggest hip extension, especially after we just did that. block thing. La 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 la. Okie dokie, artichokes. Release. Come back to the middle. One more time. Just kind of like sway the knees back and forth. Hello, sacrum. Okay, pull the knees into the chest. Oh, and rock up to a seat. Grab a block. I'm going to spin around for a moment here. Just so that I'm facing the light and my cheat. Okay, butterfly, but more like a diamond. So place the soles of the feet together. Let there be a lot of space for a moment. Press the soles of the feet into each other. And with a long spine, to whatever degree is interesting to you today, kind of fold forward and come back up. Use your hands as like little bouncy things. Push off them to come back up. It can be little. You could just be like on your knees, like, okay, this is me. Or you can even be back here and be like, this is me. That's fine too. Or you could be like, yeah, this is me, all the way up and down. Obviously, be reasonable about what feels, I don't want to say comfortable in your body, because a lot of things working on splits are not very comfortable, but it feels interesting and doable today, right? I think both the stretching aspect of working towards splits and the cramping of like the hamstring activation and things, and the hip flexor activation at end range, like none of those things are comfortable, right? That doesn't mean they're dangerous, but the idea of what we want today in our practice. All right, find a static hold, whatever that looks like. Come back up. Pull your heels in a little bit closer towards self and just explore what that is like for butterfly. Maybe flap your knees. Pause. Straighten up the legs, squeeze the knees, grab onto your block. Put it on the skinniest setting and bring your feet back to the block. Push them into the block. You may notice that your heels are not as close and your knees are up higher. That's totally fine. You can hold on to the block or have your hands behind you for support. If you'd like to fold forward, go for it, but note it will probably feel different. We're just trying to get into some different angles because, again, while like traditional front splits are exactly forward and back and the hips perfectly square and the legs like neutral in the body, for a lot of us, that's just not necessarily doable, even from the bony perspective of our hips. So sometimes stretching in a slightly more open position can give us a little bit more space and the ability to play with some slightly new positions here. Okay, lean back, stretch the legs, squeeze the knees. Option to stay there to remove the block if you're like, I hated that, or to take the block and knock it over so it's like chonky but not too chonky. Put your feet into those. And notice maybe your knees are up higher, maybe your feet have to be further from your pubic bone, whatever. You can be here. This is a great place to be. You could fold forward. You could do little side bendies, twisties. What does your body want right now in this position? Does it want stillness? Does it want movement? Okie dokie. Squeeze the knees. Last time here, you can choose no block, block on the first setting, block on the second setting, or block on the third, which is taking it to the side. Now, if you have two blocks, you can put two blocks. If you just have the one, you could just put your heels on the block. And then this is the widest settings. And you may notice again that your feet are further, or your knees are up higher. That's fine. My hips are kind of loose noodles. If you're like, yours didn't change. Yeah, they're loose noodles, which is, why I work out in the gym a lot, because it's great for things like lotus and splits. It's not great for, walking in 10 years. So there's that. Push, push, push your feet into the blocks. That can help to find that activation engagement. You do not have to be folding here. You can be wiggling, but you do not have to be wiggling. I just cannot stop wiggling because that is my thing. All right, move the blocks, squeeze the knees, and just for funsies, compare your regular butterfly. So come back to your regular butterfly and notice if it feels any different now that you've done those blocks. Mine usually feels a little bit more easeful, but we didn't do a super long hold. That's also a great thing to do before you're doing any kind of straddle work, middle splits, or even just like straddle work for pressing or just straddle for straddle's sake. Goddess. Okay, speaking of straddles, come to a small straddle, about the size of your mat, like this little V. Come to a seat, your knees can be bent, not a big deal. Take two of your blocks. If you don't have two blocks, just take any two objects that are smallish and move them on either side of your ankles. Now, you can move your feet in a little bit more to scoot your blocks in. You can do the opposite. It doesn't matter. What we're doing here is the idea of activating through the front of the hip flexors and the quads to lift up the front leg. So a lot of times we focus on kind of quad activation, hip flexor activation, because when you're really working one side of a joint, especially kind of at that short end range contraction here, it tells our brain that like, oh, this side of the joint is firing. So the other side of the joint can relax. And the other side of our hip would be our hamstring, right? And often when we're in splits, we are kind of folded over, which means our hip flexors are in that shortened position, our hamstrings are in the lengthened position. And if we can tell our brain, like when we're in this position, like if I fire this side of the joint, you can relax the other side. Sometimes we can get more space out of our hamstrings because flexibility is really the job of the nervous system. And it's our body telling us like, it is safe to be here. I'm going to give you that space. Anyway, I talked long enough. Start by taking your hands back behind you. This will make it a little bit easier. Bring a softness to the legs. And then find some activation. So squeeze the knees and squeeze the legs. We'll focus on one at a time to start, but I do like to keep the other leg active. Think about lifting through the right leg. And if it doesn't lift, push it down first. Push it down, and then try to find some lightness. The more you lean back, the easier this will be. Pick it up and move it over the block and tap. Pick it up and move it back. Pick it up and tap and move it back. Tap, move it back. One more time like that. Tap, and move it back. Okay, let's do the left leg. Again, you can lean back to make this a little bit more accessible. Pick it up, tap, and bring it back. Tap, and bring it back. Doesn't matter if it's bent. It can still be active. Tap, and bring it back. One more time. Tap, and bring it back. Your choice. You can do that totally again. Or you can sit forward without the use of your hands. The more you tilt forward, the harder it will be. If you take your hands in front of you, your hands can be there for support. And you can even think about, instead of a long spine, think about kind of curling and rounding, puffing up through the back of the heart. Notice how, like as I curl, it's not just this like, I'm not sinking. I'm really thinking about pushing and puffing. And that can help. What also makes it harder is this idea that the front hip is now in a more shortened range. And we're asking you to fire in an even more end-to-end contraction. So our muscles generally tend to do better kind of in the middle versus when they're really long or really short. So your choice. You can lean back or go in the middle or lean forward slightly. Pick up the right leg, tap it, and bring it back. Tap it, and bring it back. One more time. Tap it, and bring it back. Left leg. Tap it, and bring it back. Tap it, and bring it back. Tap it, and bring it back. Okay, your choice. You can do what we just did. You could take your blocks to the medium setting, hey, or even the high setting. The closer, obviously the higher you put them, the harder it'll be, but also the closer you put them towards your hips versus your ankles it'll be, because you'll have to lift it higher to get over here versus here, right? So you decide where you'd like to put your blocks. You decide how far you'd like to lean forward. The farther forward you lean, the harder it will be. Pick your poison. Engage your legs and then lift up your right leg over the block and tap and bring it back and tap and bring it back and tap and bring it back and tap and bring it back. One more time. Tap and bring it back. Totally normal to get cramps in the quad or the hip flexor. Think about the left leg. Pick it up, tap and bring it back, tap and bring it back, tap and bring it back, tap and bring it back. One more time. Tap and bring it back. Oh, hello. Okay. Take your two blocks and stack them on top of each other. If you have a blanket handy and you like that, put the blanket on top. And I like the mine kind of on the long setting to give myself space. And use them to fold over. As you fold, you can place a bend in your knees. Have at least a small bend there or a bigger bend, doesn't matter. And use your block tower here for a little bit of assistance as you fold. If you're like, no, the block tower is just getting in the way and I'd like to fold more, you can certainly move it forward for yourself or even completely out of the way. Just looking for a little bit of a hamstring stretch with the support of the block tower, but in this slight straddle position, which will be different than when we are having the legs together. But again, for a lot of people, like this slight widened out of the leg will give us more space, even just from a skin perspective, right? We talk about this in class 1. Some of us have bellies, some of us have breasts, and we need space to put them, right? So it's not just about the bone, the hip bone hitting the leg. Like sometimes we've got stuff in the middle, in the way. So make space for it. Literally move your skin if you need to. It is not a big deal. I'm always messing with myself in yoga practice, adjusting and trying to figure out what works best for my body. So even if the teacher doesn't say it, it is still available for you. A static hold is welcome. Great. Peel yourself up slightly. Pull the black tower back towards your chest and lean over it. Now, leaning over it might be your forearms on it. Leaning over it might be your hands on it. Leaning over it might be your chest on it and your hands forward. So now we're in kind of this supported position. And you have the option again. We're going to try to pick up a leg or maybe even both legs for some real nastiness here. And then we'll do one more fold. So let the legs be soft for a moment. And then think about your right leg. Push it down into the floor. Push it down into the floor. We're really folded, so it might feel like a lot here. Push it down into the floor. And then try to see if you can find some lightness or even lift of the right leg in this folded position. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release and soften. If you're like, I didn't find any lift, even just a little bit of lightness is what we're looking for. Maybe one day it'll lift, maybe it won't. Think about the left leg. Push it down, 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 down. Lift it up. Lift it up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Yuck, that sucked. Relax over your block tower for a minute and just hang or exist. If you want to try both legs, be my guest. You can use the pressure of the block tower. Sometimes I like to kind of lean over the block tower but keep my hands down. And then again, I like to think about pushing my heels into the floor before I pick up both legs and release. But that could take a long time. So even this idea of just trying to find a little bit of lightness is a great key. If you want to move your block tower before we take our final fold in this straddle position, go for it. You can also explore what it feels like to let your legs splay out as you fold. Again, this perfectly squared idea of frontal splits just doesn't work for all bodies. And I like to actually rotate my front leg out, which is something we're actually taught in gymnastics, to give ourselves some space. So if that feels interesting in your body and you'd like to explore it, feel free to widen or shrink your straddle as you fold. And when I fold without the blocks, I think about kind of reaching my hands forward and dragging my chest forward to get a little bit more of that long spine. Not that I care necessarily about the long spine, but the idea as the chain on the back body continues to get tension, sometimes as we change the position of the pelvis, we can find a little bit more stretch to our hamstrings. Okay, great. Peel yourself up. We need one block and a blanket. So a single block tower, place it in the middle of the mat. We're going to be using it for a supported pigeon. So you might have to adjust it depending on your specific pigeon. And then come to downward facing dog with the block kind of in the middle of your space-ish. Again, we'll have to adjust. Once you're in your downward facing dog, pedal it out here. So bend one leg really deeply and then the other. Maybe lean your hips from side to side. That can feel really nice. Swivel your feet. Get any emotions in this inverted V shape that feel good and interesting to you today. Start to still those motions. Press into the hands. Have at least a small bend into your knees. Don't worry about the heels coming to the floor. Lift the right leg towards the sky. Squeeze the glute. Bend the knee, open the hip. Take some hip circles with that right knee, pushing into the hands firmly. Keep the heel close to the sit bone. Really big circles. Switch directions. Pause with the right knee up high into the air. Look forward. Take a big inhale. Exhale, step the right foot outside of the right hand, so like a little lizard. Now, as you lower the back thigh, can you tap it onto your block tower? If the answer is no, no big deal. But aim to tap it to your block tower as you squeeze your back glute and then lift. Lower to tap it on the block tower, squeeze your back glute and lift. Squeeze the back glute and lift. Squeeze and lift. One more time. Squeeze and lift. Great. Now, Start to squeegee your right foot over towards the midline until it's in between your hands. Press into your hands and come onto your right shin. So we're adjusting to like a pigeon, but we have the back thigh on the block. Now, where you have it on the block is going to really be up to you. I kind of like to shift back a little bit so it's more like right in my groin, and my right knee takes more of the pressure, and my left knee can come down behind the block. I don't know what you like. If you're like, I absolutely hate this block, you can move it and just use the blanket or do whatever you'd like. What we're thinking about is like a modified pigeon with the hips mainly facing forward, but our torso also slightly hinged forward. And if you're like, I need more blocks for under my hands, that's chill. You should have lots of blocks or books or things. You can grab more blocks for under your hands, yeah? This is a great place to be, kind of walking the back knee back and then thinking about the back knee first, right? So let's think about the back knee first. Can you squeeze and lift? I like to keep the back toes tucked when I do this. And lower. Squeeze and lift, squeeze the glute. And lower, squeeze and lift, lower, squeeze and lift, lower. One more time, squeeze and lift, lower. Now, opposite, let's think the hamstring. Curl the back heel in and release the top of the foot down. Curl it in, release, curl it in, release. One more time, curl it in and hold. Hi, hamstring cramp. Option to stay here if you're like, I can't resist a quad stretch. You can reach back and do a quad stretch. You can also use a strap, but you also do not have to do a quad stretch here. For a lot of us, it's more of the other hip flexors or the one quad that crosses the hips versus the other quads themselves. So all this bent leg quad stretch work might not be super helpful, but it could be for you. I don't know. Release the quad if you have it, and let's focus on the front portion of our body now. So if you haven't already grabbed your blocks under your hands, I'd say go for it. Why? Because now we're thinking a little bit more about, well, actually we're still thinking about the back leg, because as we come up, we're going to be working the back leg. Come up onto the high setting of the blocks and start to walk the blocks back. As you do so, think about the booty. Can you square your hips mainly towards the front, squeeze through the back booty, and pull the pubic bone towards the sternum. Now you can lift your back knee if you'd like, or you can keep it down. Your choice. Can you pull your pubic bone towards your sternum here in this modified Pidgey? If you need to bring the blocks further forward to kind of alleviate some of that hip extension, go for it. If you want to walk them further back, go for it. There's a lot of great work to be done here. We're here for about another 20 seconds, so invite in what your body would like to do. Tug the right hip back, left hip forward, and keep the squeeze of the back glutes. Great job. Let's get out of this. However you'd like. Unwind yourself from this position. Back to downward facing dog, fix your block tower. I'm just going to keep my hands on the blocks on low setting because I know I want them in a minute, and come back to your downward facing dog. Release a small bend in your knees. Lift your left leg up, long and strong. Squeeze your glute. Bend your knee and open your hip. Take some hip circles of the left knee, really big circles. Keep the heel close to the sit bone so that the movement comes mainly from the hip joint. Switch directions. Pause with your left knee up high, high, high. Look forward. Take a big inhale. Exhale. Get the left foot outside of the left hand, however you'd like. Kind of come down into your lizard lunge. Adjust your hands. Maybe they're on blocks. Look at your block tower. Squeeze your back booty. And maybe you drop your right quad, to tap or touch. Or maybe it just comes closer to the block tower. And then lift it back up. Squeeze your booty. Drop it to touch. Lift it back up. Squeeze your booty. Drop it to touch. Lift back up. Lower and lift. And lower and lift. And lower. Ooh, this one's hard for me. And lift. And lower. And lift. Okay, we got to get to our pigeon position. So I like to kind of move my left hand out of the way, squeegee my left foot over, and then bring my blocks more to the medium setting. This gives me space to push into the blocks and come onto my left shin. We're just getting to the pigeon. You might want it in a different position than you had it on the other side. Again, I like to kind of shift back so it's slightly just kind of almost right at the connection of my left hamstring so that I can get my right knee down behind it. And then think about squaring the hips towards the front of the mat, which means right hip forward, left hip back. This is a great place to be. Let's just hold for a moment. Great. Tuck your toes and maybe work the back leg towards straight. You can lean forward more to make this more accessible. Tap and lift. Squeeze the booty as you do this. Tap and lift. Tap and lift. Tap and lift. Tap and lift. Twice more like that. Tap and lift. Tap and lift. Lower. Curl the heel in and release. Curl the heel in and release. Curl it in, release. Curl it in, release. Curl it in. Maybe you reach back for a quad stretch. Why do we do these kind of hamstring contractions? Well, again, it's kind of the opposite of what we're doing on the front leg, right? The hamstring forms the back of the joint there. So if we ask it to contract when it's in that shortened state of hip extension, then maybe we can tell our brain to find a little softness on the front side of the hip or those hip flexors. You do not have to be doing a quad stretch here, not a big deal. If you are, release your quad stretch. Option to choose and kind of fold forward, stretching through the front leg, or to put the blocks on the medium or high setting and walk them back, thinking about hip extension. Can you keep the squeeze of the back glute and the hips generally pointing towards the front? Of course, adjust your body as desired and use your blocks for support here. The more upright you bring your torso, the more it becomes about that hip extension. Pull your pubic bone towards your sternum. Wherever you want to be here is a great place. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great. However you'd like, peel yourself off of your blocks. And then take the blanket off the block tower, keep it nearby. So we want a 2-block block tower, no blanket, because we're going to stand on it. And again, if I had 2 cork blocks, I'd be using them, but I'm going to put this filio block on my cork block and just hope it doesn't fall off because I'm going to stand on it. So you'll be standing on your block tower. And we'll be doing forward fold here. So if that means you have a lot of blocks and you want to put like 2 sets of blocks next to each other so that you can have a foot on each block, that's fine. If you're like, I just like my forward fold is still fairly like hard on the floor, then you can just even put the 2 blocks next to each other like that. So you choose. This is a great place to be if you know you have a pretty decent forward fold already and you'd like a little extra height. You can put the blocks on top of each other for extra space, if I may. If you have more blocks, you can use them in your hands for load, but you certainly do not have to. It's fine just as is. So what we'll be doing is stepping up onto the block tower, carefully, putting at least a small bend into the knees. I like a more decent bend in the knees, and then hinging at the hips with a long spine and folding over. And again, I'm just holding my blocks for a little extra load. These filio blocks are like 3 to 4 pounds each. So it gives a little bit of extra load here and helps me kind of traction out the back of my back. Keep at least a small bend in the knees, if not a big bend. If you have your feet each on a block, then you can widen your stance a little bit, and that might feel really nice. I just can't expect everyone to have like 17,000 blocks. So you could also have your feet on stacks of books. And I actually like just these little weights here. It feels really nice to kind of traction. And if you're nowhere near this and you're like, yeah, I'm like up here. Well, take your block tower, deconstruct, single block on each side. Maybe widen the stance a little bit. Don't feel afraid to turn your toes out, right? Give yourself some space. Turn in or out with the toes. Big bend in the knees. Drop the torso down between the thighs, almost like it's chair pose. And then keeping that connection, start to hinge forward. Like this is a great place to be too, y'all. And keep the connection of the side ribs to the legs, even if it looks like this. And then just start to slowly lift your booty up. Like, hello, booty to the sky, booty to the sky. There are plenty of places to explore and get some work out of this. We're searching for sensations in the back of the legs, the hamstrings, in this kind of really lengthened position. So here in this position, we've got a really long, big stretch across the back of the body, lots of tension there. So it can be a little challenging. Adjust your feet maybe one more time, see if that changes anything. Turn them in and out, make them wider or closer together. What do you want to do? Sure, you can hold your loaded blocks. I don't have space here. But if I had 2 more blocks, I could stack them on top of my other blocks and you can start getting crazy. You can also stand on chairs or a bench to do this. Something sturdy, though, like not a couch. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, slowly step off your blocks and bend your knees, trying to stand up too fast. You've been upside down for a minute. All right. Stack 2 blocks back on top of each other in the middle-ish of your space. And do take your blanket now for a little bit of patting and fold it, or towel, fine. Put it on top. Put maybe, if you have extra blocks, you can put them towards the top of your mat just for hand support here. I'd move the mat to the side. We'll be doing a down facing dog. I prefer my hands not on the blocks to start, but then you might want them. So down facing dog over your block tower. Pedal it out again. A little bit of dynamic work first. So take your right leg and extend it up to the sky. Squeeze the glute. Now tuck your right knee behind your left and bend both legs really firmly. Soft ankles. And then kick your right leg up to the sky, squeeze your glute as you do so, and maybe straighten out slightly through the left leg. So maybe glance at me first. So it's this loaded little Shiva squat, and then we kick and squeeze. Don't worry if the hip opens. Loaded Shiva squat, kick and squeeze. Do this a few times with me. Loaded Shiva squat, kick and squeeze. Load, squeeze. Load, squeeze. One more time. Load, squeeze. Swing your right foot up outside of your right hand. Now look at your block tower and place your back thigh on it. Your back thigh, your left thigh. Maybe the blocks come under your hands. Right foot is outside of right hand unless you just hate that. I have my blocks on the low setting to start. You can also do medium and that's fine. We're thinking first about the back leg. So you can float your back toes if that's comfortable. Maybe you need to put the block tower a little bit closer to your back knee to do this. Lift and squeeze through the glute. Lift and squeeze through the back glute. And hover your back foot. You can move your front foot around to assist with this for a little bit more balance. Release the toes, lift. Release the toes, lift. Release the toes, lift. Now, you can release the toes here, and if you're, depending on your height and things, maybe you want to take 1 block off your block tower. Maybe you need to put another block and have 3. But you choose here. We are tilted forward, so we're not in that much hip extension. Let's think about that front leg. Can you squidgy, 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 squidgy that front leg out? Now, notice mine is kind of going to the side. That's fine. If you're like, no, I want mine to be more here, that's fine. Squeegee it more towards the middle. So this is about the hamstring stretch for the front leg. We've done a lot of hip extension already. This is about the hamstring stretch. Keep at least a small bend into that front leg. Push the foot down and drag it towards the back. Your back leg is supported here. If you would like to alleviate some of the hamstring stretch, come up onto the high setting and pick up your torso. But that will make it more about hip extension, right? So there's really never, that's the thing about front splits, is there's never really any relief. It's either the back leg or the front leg. So right now we're focused on the front leg, and the more you bow down and the more you straighten out through that front leg, keeping at least a small bend into it, the more sensation you will have here. Be where you are for about 20 more seconds. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Squeegee the front foot back. Carefully move your hands off the blocks. Back to downward facing dog. Other side. Lift the left leg up. Tuck the left knee behind the right, squat low, Shiva squat, and then pop it open to a little split. Tuck, split and squeeze. 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 Step the left foot outside of the left hand and lay your back leg down on the block tower, adjusting so that's kind of right above your knee. Again, I like my blocks on the medium setting inside of my feet for lizard. And then let's think about the back leg a little bit first. Adjust your front foot for support. Can you hover the back toes and squeeze through the back knee and the back glute? Release your toes down. Squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze, release. Okay, back toes down, but still keep the activation of the back leg. Now it's about the front leg hamstring stretch. Can you start to squeegee that front leg forward? The lower down you put your torso with a long spine, the more stretch you'll feel with the hamstring, likely. And you can adjust your leg more towards the center or keep it out to the side. 100% your choice. Can you take your hands off the blocks? Absolutely. Can you come down into your forearms? For sure. What do you want to do here? If you want to focus more on hip extension, go for it. Put the blocks on the high setting and start to bring your torso more upright. You can also hover and lift your back foot for a little extra engagement there, squeezing through the back glute. Tug the right hip forward and left hip back. We've only got a couple more drills, y'all. You're crushing. Release the toes. Bring your hands onto your block tower. Shift back. Squeegee the foot. Ugh. And come off of the foot. Or come off the block tower. All right. Here we are. We're going to have to do a little bit of finagling here. So I actually prefer 3 blocks from my block tower, which I know is excessive. What we'll be doing now is placing the block tower under the front leg. So I like to think about it maybe like a quarter to a third of the way back on my mat. And I'm going to do the right leg first. See, I put 3 blocks and a blanket on top because I'm excessive. And you might find like I'm pretty tall, so this might not work for you. I want it so that it is kind of right behind my front knee, right? So it's something like this. You may be like, no, 2 blocks is totally fine, because ideally for support, you'd also have 2 more blocks. So if you have like a small stool, that could be your block tower. That would also be helpful because it's nice to have this. And then the back toe gets tucked and sent behind you, right? So that you have this idea of like the front leg supported in splits now. Squeeze to the back booty. The back leg can have a small bend or a big bend, right? But we're thinking about the squeeze of the glute. And then here is a great place to be. And if you're like, this is a lot, and kind of bending and pouring over the front leg is a lot, you're right, it is a lot. Another option could be you start to lift and hover through that front leg and then play with the folding, right? You can move your blocks forward and fold. This idea of flying splits here. This is a great place to be. If you're like, this block tower would be way too high, that's fine. You can take a block off, but I'm not going to lie. Actually, sometimes taking a block off will make it harder because you'd be lower to the ground. Yeah. If it's closer to regular splits. So keep that in mind. If you want to experiment with that and see what it looks like in my body, although it's not be relevant to your body, that's fine. So now that I do this, I kind of have to go a little bit lower, right? But hey, we got to work with what we got, right? And now I'm lower here. I might be able to keep my back knee on the ground though, so that's a benefit for some people, right? Is I can lift the front leg or I can lift the back leg. And now I'm in this hovering splits. So I'm closer to splits here. I can play with the idea of folding for some hamstring tension or bringing myself more upright with my blocks for a little bit of hip extension. And this is a lot, y'all. To me, this feels even more than like regular splits just because the legs have to be so much more active. We're fighting kind of against gravity here. Yours might look totally different than mine. You'll see my other side. It's not going to look like this. But figure out somewhere you can be in this for about 20 seconds. And wherever you are, try to keep that pelvic positioning, the squeeze of the back glute and the pull up of the pubic bone towards the sternum. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Soften and release. All right, let's do the other side. You probably can just kind of shift your tower over a little bit. I'm going to start with the higher one for me just because I did it on the other leg, and I know this leg has some troubles, right? So get your left leg over the block tower, whatever your block tower looks like, kind of so it's behind the knee. I like to use my other blocks for support, but you can also put your hands on the block tower. If you're like, don't have the other blocks, you can put your hands on the block tower, right? But the blocks let me kind of fold forward and take pressure off the hip extension. So this is a great place to play with hip extension too, lifting up through the back knee, or you can just keep it lifted with a small bend. Focus on that. Focus on lifting through the front leg. Maybe it tries to come somewhat towards straight. Whether it's straight or bent on the floor, you can play with the idea of folding with a long spine to get some more hamstring stretch. What does your specific body need out of this movement? Notice I'm shivering and shaking. This is very hard for me. Especially when we get near these like end range contractions on both sides, like my body has a lot to say about it. It's got a lot of shivies and shakes. If you'd like to take this down to a shorter block tower, remembering that that can be easier or harder depending on how you look at it. Woo, sorry, filio block. Don't tell Anthony. Lower down, you'll probably have to squeeze your legs out wider, so it'll come to look more like splits, right? The back leg can lift, do some hip extension here. The front leg can straighten. You can do a little bit of both. You can fold for hamstring. You can come upright for hip extension. What is it that you would like to do here? I recommend the front ankle stay soft and the back toes stay tucked, but that's just me. We'll be here for another 20 seconds or so. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release your back leg. Oh gosh, come out of this. And I recommend you finish out by just using your block tower between your legs. And again, that little forward fold, which can be wider or a little bit closer, kind of hugging the block tower as you pour over it. And of course, you're welcome to keep working on the splits. You might be like, but we didn't actually do the splits. It's okay. Now that you're warm, if you would like to work on the splits, know that we will get there in our final flow for part 5, and we'll play with them a little bit. But this is more about components, and you've been doing a lot of things that look like the splits. Yeah, so if you would like to play with the splits now on your own, you are totally welcome to. And you're nice and warm, hopefully, so that will feel good. But also, you did the work. And even if you don't do the posture itself, everything we did today was really close to splits and still providing benefit. Also, if you do work on splits and you're like, oh, I'm not there yet, consistency is going to be very, very helpful for these massive asks of our body. And it can take a long time. You know, people always ask me, like, which is easier, splits or handstand? And honestly, I think handstand can take less time and maybe less effort, since it's kind of this balance of strength and skill. And I would argue that splits can also be done with a lot of strength, but in general, like, we're asking a lot of mobility of the body, and that can take a good amount of time for a lot of people. So please be kind to yourself. Remember that front splits is just for fun, and it might look really pretty with pretty lines, but it is way past functional range of motion for us, and it is not necessary in your yoga practice or to consider yourself a good or useful person. So it's just kind of for fun. I hope you had fun tinkering with me today. Please feel free to send me your progress pictures, whether that's asking a question or DMing me here on the app or shooting me a message on Instagram, my own Casa Colibri, or through Authentic Movements. I love hearing from y'all, and I'd be happy to give my thoughts and advice. And I appreciate you being here. Join me next week for part 4. Have a great day.